Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so it's 4:45 in the morning. You know how I am. Body clock all over the place. No structure to it at this point. Just wanted to come in and say hello to everybody. I haven't really wanted to do a therapy session at all. You guys notice I'm usually really quick with the therapy sessions, coming back and forth with different things to say. But lately, I haven't really wanted to do that at all. I've wanted to just talk basketball in this camera and just let it be. All the therapy, all the energy that I need to let out is just kind of there. they're allowing me to kind of focus in on them. But the reality is I got a lot going on. Obviously, going forward, if you follow me, you know we got this eviction situation at hand. The 3rd of May is when the court date is due, and I'm no step closer to doing anything, and I mean anything, to help myself. I've just been in a space of complete cloud. When I say cloud, I mean everything's been just kind of foggy, man. I haven't really been able to bring myself to address anything stressful, which is dangerous for my circumstance. But I've been just trying to manage, praying, working out, doing the channel, of course, throwing myself into basketball, but no step closer to really handling business like I should. But I did get my packet in the mail yesterday for all of my Medicare stuff. So now I can address it. And there's nothing in the way of that. I've been waiting for all that stuff, got everything that I needed to address my mental health. And now it's just about me taking the steps, opening up that packet and dealing with whatever I need to to start this process, so that I can at least have something to prove, something to show these people that I'm really struggling with my mental health, and I'm not just squatting unlawfully in this apartment, but I'm dealing with a multitude of different things that I need a lot of help with and ain't getting it. And I don't know if anybody cares, you know what I mean? This is not one of those situations where people are going to come, oh my God, let me come save you, because they usually leave you out in the street, like my boy Michael. As I've told you about the buddy on the list that I known from Santa Monica, who walked the streets, always in need, but it's just a circumstance in the world. And so I'm trying not to become one of those people, but failing to do what I need to do to save myself. So at least everybody who watches my channel is aware of my circumstance. That's one thing I can fall back on. Like, there's like 500 people that literally know what I've been going through the whole time. And they would vouch. They would vouch to at least tell you that I've been trying to stay productive while being in this space. Health confusion is what I would say. It's confusion in the sense that I'm still waiting for the squeeze to happen, so to speak, and banks are falling left and right. Wells Fargo just got hit with something and along those lines. I don't know what it was, but they're going to be hit with something. I read that is in that vein. It's just, we haven't been paid. We haven't been paid, man, and it's been very confusing for me, because it's like on one hand, every day I'm waiting for this thing to squeeze, and on the other hand, I'm waiting for them people to kick me out my apartment, and I don't want to spend a single dollar that I don't need to, because there's always a chance the next day the squeeze come, the next day the squeeze come, and that has deteriorated my desire to work, my desire to go out and really do anything until I get paid. And that's kind of the psychosis, so to speak. It's like, I don't want to move. Anything I do is going to either cost me money or force me into spaces that are going to rupture my desire to be on this earth. Meaning working security jobs and all kinds of other stuff that's just deemed stressful in my head. The only place I ever want to go, in terms of when I start thinking about what happens when I have to go back, is just like, man, there's a better alternative, and it's not being here, quite honestly. But I've been able to effectively stay out of those stressful, manic, and destructive mindsets, just kind of throwing myself at the Lakers. But it hasn't been any help. I haven't done anything to help myself, and it's only going to get a lot worse, as it appears, if I stay in this space. So I've been doing a lot of praying to try to help myself step out of this space, but that is the issue of my mental health, that I'm able to kind of slip into those mindsets where I don't necessarily do things that I need to do to help myself, and then from there just sit there and wait for the countdown of it all falling apart. It's the same thing I did with my mother's 401k money. I don't know if I was any closer to kind of being as productive as I am now back then, in terms of art and channel and all that. I don't think I had all that going on at the time. But I was just sitting there watching my mother's money deplete, as I couldn't bring myself to move before AMC. You know what I mean? After I had gotten evicted from the last place, I found myself in that space where I just could not bring myself to do things that otherwise would deem as stressful. And I was sitting in the shower today and praying about it as I always do. And I just say, this is my life. This is my life, and I'm rendered to an apartment, and I've been comfortable with it. There's a whole world out there that I'm missing, with all different types of love and context and art and all different types of things to experience. And I never bring myself to want to leave this place because of my perception of how uncomfortable I've felt my entire life in the presence of others. I can never actually enjoy anything if I'm always in that mindset where I have to be considering various different social stuff that ultimately ruptures my comfort, which means so much to me for whatever reason. And if you follow these therapy sessions, you know what I believe my problem is, but I've never been diagnosed with anything. It's just malfunction defensive mechanisms, basically defensive mechanisms that I established as a young person with flight or flight attached to it without any reason or rhyme. Flight or flight in the sense to let me hide, care for myself in the presence of whatever it is I feel will protect me, but ultimately leaving me vulnerable for real dangers just the same by neglect. So I'm very tired, but I'm not quitting. And that's one thing I've been thinking about these last couple of days. I'm not fully falling into that fog, so to speak, because I always have in the back of my mind the need to do more, the need to get help, the need to take steps or whatever needs to be done. It's always in the back of my mind. And as I think about it, I get to a space where it's almost like I'm too weak to deal with it. This weakness inside of me that just makes me cower, as if, there's a big 12-foot monster getting ready to step on my head or something, as opposed to it being something very, business worthy and needing of my attention. It just becomes a situation where I feel like I'm fighting a big bad wolf or something, when it's really just me making a couple phone calls to handle business that would ultimately save me from headaches later. But the headaches later are never real to me. Just like I'm thinking about homelessness and how that's not real to me because I'm in my comfort zone right now. And right now is always what I'm married to, with the intention of exiting life if it just gets too much. And it's not about intention necessarily, it's the wrong word, but it's just like that's the alternative. So forever I want to convince myself to go into those ruptured spaces. I tell myself I don't have to, because if it gets too bad, I just walk away. And so it's like, this is how I've lived my life over the last couple of, say, 6 months, year, however long it's been, and I've been in this space. And then from there, I've kind of had little pockets at a time in my life where that's been the case all throughout life. So it's like I'm at a place where I'm like, well, at least I got my channel. At least I got my, the various things that I like to do that keep me feeling productive, my art and all that stuff. At least I'm getting better at all of that. It's continuing to progress. And as I've told you guys many times, my playlist curation project, different musical stuff, I'm still on that. All the music that was recently released about an hour and a half ago. Haven't listened to it yet, but I'm trying to add stuff to my app. And of course, as I tell you guys, Apple Music is the biggest deterrent to my happiness in terms of the different things that I do to keep myself going. Their app is one of the biggest deterrents in my entire life right now, because every time I try to add music to that thing, it turns a 1-hour job into a 4-hour job. So, I get on here and I complain every time I get a chance, man. Apple Music's app for Android users is meant to antagonize us and frustrate us and ultimately make us feel like we're not capable of using their platform without endless amounts of patience attached to that. And I don't have that endless amounts of patience. And so it's just getting to a point where I am doing my playlist less and less, and it's not for a lack of love for music. It's just because the app is that frustrating to use. It's kind of depressing, to be honest with you, because it's really the most important thing in my life besides my channel and my Lakers and all that stuff is being able to blend that music and continue to work on that gift that I believe I have. And while I have so many works already that I can just keep sharing, it ain't nothing to keep making them. I can make 4 and 5 of them a week, but this app makes it so that I don't even want to touch that thing. So it's like my love for what I do is not leaving me, but my desire to fight through Apple Music's app is, and that is it's eating away at my joy for the little bit of coping that I'm able to cope with. It just adds another layer of negativity to try to overcome. And it's one of those things where it's just like, as I've been taking on this is, I always call it water torture of circumstances that just keep happening, that I keep coercing myself into by way of my mental health and my neglect for whatever needs to be done for the sake of not being stressed out. I just find myself being more stressed out. There's nothing that really brings any peace to me other than living in the moment and putting off everything that needs to be done so that I don't rupture my mind with whatever I perceive to be too much. Continue to try to do everything I can to cope. Some of my coping mechanisms are positive, others are not as good for me. And it's one of those situations where it's like I'm trying to overcome all of it to stay centered, keep my voice on this channel, keep, as I said, continue to try to fight through the frustration with that app, trying to do what it is I love to do. And I'm just day to day. The good thing about it is I haven't really thought about quitting. Like I had been last year. I was thinking about I don't want to be here and all that. Ain't none of that going on. I won't hate myself. I don't dislike myself. I am not mad at myself for any of those things at all. But I don't know if that brings me any closer to being as, eager to deal with the stress that'll fix my circumstances. Stress and the need to face stress and the weakness within that doesn't want me to face it, not want to address it. And so I'm in the pits, man. I need a couple miracles to come my way. It don't look like they're coming anytime soon, but I'm still holding. And I think that's another thing I was gathering while I was sitting in the shower, is just how much resistance I've been able to take. I was sitting on the edge of the world, so to speak, as it pertains to things going wrong with my life about 16 months ago. I've been in this space where things have gotten significantly worse, where I've sacrificed things maybe unnecessarily to keep on doing what I've done. I've been able to sit in circumstances that look this dangerous for a long time. And as we approach 2 weeks away from possibly being homeless or being aware of when that date would be, hopefully they wouldn't kick me out the same day, but you know what I'm trying to say. I just feel like that almost has worked against me, because now I'm not afraid of things that really are scary. You know what I mean? Like homelessness. I've been holding my shares for so long, from $72 all the way down to $3.50. And the resistance to watching that fall has created a different type of resistance in me to be more of a, more neglectful, I think. That's to say, where back in the day, I would be really scared if I had this amount of money, shares going down, all in percentages, all the money just disappearing. Now it's just like, because I've been in this play, knowing that your money is going to disappear, knowing it can jump back up at any time, it's messing with my psychology as it pertains to handling other things in life. It's like, I could be homeless, but I'm also strong enough to sit here on the edge of possibly being homeless and still hold my shares, because that's what the resistance of the mindset has done to this particular ape. I ain't afraid of what I should otherwise fear, because I've had to snuff out any otherwise fear with this brain as it pertains to my finances. I watched my car disappear 3 times. Let them repo that thing. Didn't pay rent for years, almost 2 years now, just to hold my shares and not work, just so I didn't have to put on a security uniform and feel like I felt again. Like, it meant that much to me to never do that again. And I'm supposed to go back out there out of necessity. I just don't know how my brain is going to handle that. As I sit here and I realize it's time for the re-up for BSIS, I want to re-up, but not because I ever want to do security again, but because it's that much of a headache to let it lapse. I just want to pay for it so I don't have to go through those steps again if I ever need it. But I pray every day that the Lord keep me out of those jobs. I pray every day that He keep me out of circumstances that would otherwise make me go back to the life that I hated very much. And the steps that I had to take to adhere to other people's will and step away from the creativity that I have within my time that I've reserved for myself, that I don't ever want to let go of. That I was hoping AMC would give me enough finances to make sure that I keep doing it the way I'm doing it. You know what I mean? So I don't ever have to work for you or them or they or him or anybody else. It means a lot to me, especially given the fact that I've had so much foot service to that position and have gotten zero out of it. Absolutely, absolutely nothing. The only thing I got was enough money to invest in something that I'm still waiting on. That's all security really did for me, was maintain my life at the moment, which I appreciated. And then from there, giving me the investment money to sit here and wait on this thing. And so I'm tired. As I've said many times, not physically, but mentally and spiritually, I'm tired, man. And the only reason why I don't want to die is because I feel it's wrong. Truly, because I think God doesn't like that. He doesn't want me to quit. But I'm tired, bro. I'm by myself. There ain't much else going on. Some of the stuff that I really, really wanted in the past, I don't even see it no more because I can't even bring myself to want to go to those places. It's like when I first started wanting this thing to bloom, I was like, oh, I'm going to get me a car, I'm gonna fly there and I'm going to go all over the world. Now I'm like, bro, if I were to get enough money, I just want to find a better apartment to sit in and do what it is that I do. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to see the world, none of that. I don't want to be around. And that's the problem. It's like I need to change that. That's not sustainable. All that's going to do is force me into spaces where I'm less useful for others. And that's one of the things that I hated the most last time I went outside. Last time I went outside and peeked my head up and realized that everybody's life had changed. People had gone through things that I could have helped them with and all that. That's something I'm thinking about right now. You know what I mean? But I can't seem to bring myself to do what needs to be done so that I can make those realities real for me. And that type of living, when your brain is in the way, if you live in the way you want to, it just gets to a point where it's like, you want change to come your way, since it's so difficult for you to initiate it yourself. And while I looked at certain things that I've been able to do, developing my body in this way, physically working out, developing the art and all these different things that helped me change my ways, getting away from video games and into different production things, I just realized there are other things I could do in that same vein that'll turn this around as well. But to start that process just seems so very difficult. And the start of those other processes were difficult too, but for whatever reason, they were able to get started. And here we are. But when it comes to paperwork and dealing with people and going here and going there, the anxiety is so deep right now that I barely want to walk down the street to get a bite to eat. Like, I seriously don't. I don't want to go out to do nothing ever. And I have to, you know what I mean, when it comes to this court thing. And I just feel like the countdown, I may have said this one or two times, but the countdown is really bad for me. When I have to look at a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 situation and I know the end of that rainbow is something stressful, I'm probably going to be just spiraling throughout the process of that countdown. That's what I feel like I've been doing. It was the same thing when I was dealing with other sex situations, and with this court situation, it's exactly that. I'm just, as to which there are so many different steps that I could take to get myself help. Any one of those steps just feels like a rupturing of my stresses and ultimately brings me to a great deal of anxiety. That is bearable, because I'm not going to tell myself it ain't bearable, but it is very difficult. So that's where I'm at, man. I want to just come here and confess, let people know that I ain't done nothing to help myself at all, and that things are getting a lot worse fast, and I have no idea I'm going to help myself, and I don't know that I am going to help myself, and I'm praying, but it seems like it's getting harder to do that because it's easier to go toward things that are not helpful to cope with what it is that I'm doing. But when you go to those things that aren't helpful, you get away from what it is that makes you best, and it becomes more and more cloudy to see what's best as opposed to what's wrong. It was a lot of praying and a lot of good energy that kept me faithful in the presence of all this nonsense. But when you remove that goodness and you leave yourself with the nonsense, it's easy to become susceptible to what is not good for you. So it's like, how do I cope properly? How do I go into those stressful spaces to provide myself preventative measures to other stresses that are necessary so that my life doesn't get worse and that those stresses don't become even more unbearable? I do not know. If I knew the answer to that, I would have fixed myself a long time ago and have been very, very useful to you. But I can't seem to do that, and it's driving me to a space of unhappiness, but not necessarily quitting, because I feel like I've overcome certain self-loathing and certain things that would otherwise be counterintuitive in that way. Being mad at self for these problems, not anymore, as I said already. Being confused about whether or not I'm a bad person because I struggle with this, not anymore. Nah, I'm not getting on my case. I'm not telling myself I did something wrong. Even if I did, I'm giving myself all the passes in the world for my mental health, because anything else is just reinforcing more of the negative that keeps me in this house. And I've come to terms with that. I got to do something other than I'm mad at me for not doing what I need to do. It got to be a different energy. And so it just is. I guess I'm just now accepting it and unhappy with it, as opposed to being angry at myself and looking to punish. So help is needed for my mental space, for the conundrum of waiting on something that's never happening, but seeing it happen just the same, which is one of the most confusing things to ever explain to anybody. But the reality is the damage is being done from what it is that I'm sacrificing to the enemy that I'm fighting, but I'm not getting any fruit from that. That's the bottom line. I'm an AMC ape and they ain't paying us nothing, because corruption is real, and they're kicking the can down the road because they're capable of it, and the people who are meant to hold them accountable are in their back pocket. But that's not the only problem I have. That's just what coerced me into being as ill as I am. The sickness was already there. The struggles were already in place. And AMC didn't ruin my life, man. It really didn't. It was the choice to get into AMC that I think brought me to a space where I love myself as much as I do, want the help as much as I do, have put myself in a position to have the art and all that other stuff and the coping desires away from negativity that I've ultimately desired to find. It's because I jumped into something like this with my full soul, but not necessarily my right mind. That's brought me to a place where I feel much more confident to talk in this camera freely, much more likely to make better content for my Lakers, much more likely to make better playlists, even though I'm capable of overcoming the app and its evil ways and all these various different things. And then I mention them a lot, so I don't want to get into all of it, but it's just plenty that I've tried to overcome, and I'm still trying to actively overcome physically, mentally, emotionally, and by myself, man. And so that's really what it come down to. I'm just trying to get my content out, whatever needs to be said, so that I can get this therapy session out that I've been dreading for the last several days, telling you guys what I'm telling you. I'm just trying to get this out of my system right now, man, because I know I've been neglecting this therapy session. I know that there's some truth to the fact that there needs to be more accountability on my end to get help, to do more, to get air, to walk outside, and all those different things that I legitimately think will help myself. That first step process is just not coming to me at all. And I also tell myself that the timing is right. Even if I don't get it right for myself, it's right because I'm with the God that I pray to. So he'll make sure that the clock says what it needs to say when I need to be where I need to be. That conundrum also leaves me in a space believing as if my complacency is to be questioned, or whether or not it's not even good for me. Maybe I should be sitting here exactly the way I am, because God will put me where he wants me to be, and all those different things. Just like the AMC possibly turning around tomorrow conundrum leaves me at a space where I can effectively tell myself not to freaking move, even if the clock is telling me it's only 3 seconds left before things blow up. That conundrum where there's hope makes it worse, a lot worse, because at least if I thought there was no chance of things getting better, I would just either choose to do what I need to do or choose to end the life that I'm in. One way or another, I would have some finality, some finite understanding as to what it is that I'm actually dealing with, instead of just the hope of things being able to turn around instantly just from being a part of what it is I'm a part of. It's that hope that's making things worse, honestly. But this is what the ape sacrifice is about, man. This is what it's about. This is what it requires for the common man to take the steps to fight against the corruption that is in place, that is unapologetic and right in your face. If y'all look at the Ortex data on AMC, and you look at the cost to borrow percentage, you tell me that what I'm saying to you is bullcrap. That's all I gotta say. Because at the end of the day, I'm a part of something very, very serious. And even though I'm struggling with myself in this household with it, The reality is I was always on the right track. And the proof is in what's going on around us right now. I am owed. Regardless of what happens after that, I'm owed big. And that's really what it comes down to. I've been sitting in this space waiting for what it is that's supposed to be coming my way. It's supposed to be coming to the way of the apes, and it just has not come to pass. And as a result, my mental health is deteriorated. My living situation is deteriorated. And I think that was the intention of the people on the other side of this fight. To do this to the apes, to bankrupt us and leave us there for a long time to make us feel like we've lost. But we always know this thing can turn around overnight, and will. That's what a squeeze is. Instant. So they got to make us feel like we're very far away, even when it's only a moment away. And I want them to know that I always know it's just a moment away. BDF 44, I thank you all for watching. I'm out.